Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
As
Ah,
well. Thank you. Hi, Kate. Hi, Alanah. How are you today?
Good.
doing good.
Good, good. First of all, Kate, congratulations on
Thank
making,
you.
yeah, congratulations on making your directorial debut. And I trust that the time at Fantastic Fest was a good one.
Oh, it's great. That's one of my favorite festivals. The people are passionate and responsive and kind. The movies are so fun.
So let's start with the project itself. We're talking about your segment in VHS Beyond called Stowaway. And why now? Why this particular project? Why this short film? Why start your directorial career here?
Well, first things first, both of my kids are in school. So I had a little extra time. Got both of them out of the toddler zone and into kindergarten, second grade. So I had a minute to breathe. And instead of breathing, I decided to take on a harder project. VHS is an incredible opportunity for new filmmakers. It is a springboard of some of my favorite genre creators' careers. I was a fan of the anthology series as a whole, and when asked to do it, I had some initial terror about the work and responsibility of directing, but it was just um, such a kind and exciting opportunity. I had to say yes.
So what came first, the invite, or was there a script just lying around? What came first? I mean, there's got to be scripts lying around. You're probably tripping over scripts in that household.
The invite came first. And then there was an early pitch with the team at Studio 71, and then a treatment, and then a script.
And so what serves as inspirations when you're making this? Like what kind of filmmakers are you trying to emulate? Because I could name one, but that would give away the end. Because the switch from sci-fi into horror, what happens to Haley in that? If I say that director, then I'm afraid I don't want to give it away.
Exactly. I would say some of my influences. I really love the way Jennifer Kent combines emotional vulnerability and horror. So I've always loved The Babadook. I love Terrence Malick's way of handling camera and backstory, and the way he makes people touch things all the time. I really loved Guillermo del Toro's use of fantasy and creature design. And who else did I really pull from? I love Ridley Scott. I think Ridley Scott handles it perfectly. To be a female Ridley Scott would really be the dream.
When we talk about backstory, and I think Atlanta will talk to you for a second here because there's a line in this film that just kind of you're talking about emotional, right, Kate? And we're talking about the line, Stephen has a reason, number 85, for why Haley is a shitty mother. And all of a sudden, everything just kind of, this is like that whoa moment in that. And it kind of drew me into, sorry, many years ago, I was in a van with a writer director, and he was giving us this impromptu masterclass on how he wrote things. And he created these massive backstories for each character. So the character had all of this backstory as to why they would respond to different things the way they are, or or how they would respond to the moment, or how they would respond to plot points in the script and such. It was great. Atlanta, were you kind of given stuff like that, or were you given character, like a bulk of character beforehand to kind of help you capture those moments?
Everything that I needed was in the script. Turns out Mike Flanagan is a very good writer. Everything that I needed to build out, the core of this character and why they would be doing what they were doing was in those pages, including, reason 85, why Haley's a shitty mother, which actually that was not the way it was scripted. I think I may have done that 10 separate times. It was like 1,000 or something. Um, but there's all of the references to Haley's daughter and the fact that she is trying to film her, the little short with the dinosaur. Those are all the pieces that build the thing that you need to convey to the audience. I could have done the work to figure out what Haley's favorite color is or what she studied at school, but I think it's more important to focus on the truth that you want the audience to take away from it, which is that she's extremely determined. She is smart, she's right, but comes across to other people like a conspiracy theorist, and that she's extremely driven to prove herself right. And all of those pieces mean that you have a character that is probably at least a little bit insecure. intelligent at the same time, and also has something to lose. You are seeing through all of those moments and all of those lines what exactly she's losing. And that's the really important part that you want to tell the audience is why it matters that she's willing to make a sacrifice to prove herself. And that leaves you with the dread that hopefully you were left with by the end of knowing that she sacrificed everything and sacrificed her daughter in order to prove herself right. And I think that's a lot more relatable, even though we tell it in a sci-fi horror setting. I think we all deal with things like that and can go through things like that all the time. Of just needing to be validated in any way is just a core part of the human experience.
And I think that would extend also into, and into our genre where female directors, female writers, females have to constantly prove themselves less than we would, guys would. There's constantly always having to validate ourselves, which is really unfair.
Yeah, I my full-time job, I'm a video game writer. I work for Sony Santa Monica Studio, and if you Googled my name today, probably you could find someone commenting about how I got my job because I gave somebody sexual favors, or how I don't deserve what I do for a living, even though I studied writing at school and have done it for 10 years. So that was definitely part of it when I was reading the script, is like thinking about how I personally can really strongly relate to that, having a career in video games for as long as I have and still having people question how I got my job, which when it was announced that I got my job and I received all this backlash, the creator of the franchise that I work on, David Jaffe, tweeted something that was along the lines of like, the only reason any of you care about this is because she's a girl. If this were any other junior writer at a studio, none of you would be saying anything. And that's totally true. And it's definitely a thing that I struggle with all the time. And it was kind of nice to get to play around with the story in a way that's, obviously her setting is quite different. It's, again, a conspiracy theorist effectively, even though she's correct. But she just needs to prove herself, and at what cost. And it's definitely something that I could really, really strongly relate to. But I think everybody can, genuinely. I think it's to differing degrees, like you said. It's not like men don't deal with those things too, just different flavors.
Yeah, but we fail up. So, so I think your background as a creator and such, you went and you speak with a certain amount of authority throughout the film. I think there was that confidence in the discovery, and I think that a lot of it I think probably would say that your background and your career helped with that confidence, that confident delivery of the script in the film.
Absolutely. And it was a fun thing that I needed Kate's help with was in a lot of cases, because I also used to be a reporter. In some cases, I was too confident. People who are recording things on camera in the 90s, which is the setting of Stowaway, aren't used to having cameras in their faces all the time. They're not used to the Zoom call that we're having right now. They're not used to making YouTube videos. So in theory, she's a reporter, but she probably doesn't have a ton of experience setting up a camera and standing back and filming herself when you don't even have a viewfinder. You can't see what you look like. So in order to make it not seem like I was, a YouTuber delivering to camera, there are a lot of things that I asked Kate for help with, making sure I was standing in a way or sitting in a way that was like a little more uneasy or a little less comfortable, so that you still feel like she's somebody who's definitely very devoted to figuring out if aliens are real, and she is definitely a reporter, but I wanted to make it seem like she wasn't also somehow a natural host, because that would be a very weird combination of things. So it was an interesting challenge in trying to make myself slightly less confident in front of camera than I actually am. So that, there was just a lot of physicality to that, and an occasional stutter that I would add in to make it so that, there wasn't too much confidence. She's definitely a confident woman. She's definitely very ambitious, and that's things that I really like about the character. But an interesting challenge for me in trying to make sure I wasn't too casual on camera as well.
So through what Alanah's speaking, we can kind of piece it all together, but why Alanah as the role of Haley?
I was looking for somebody who had a certain set of skills. Yeah, I heard it. And there was a certain combination that is very hard to find in an actress, which is the ability to be comfortable in front of a camera and have that naturalism, but have something about her that is just magnetic. She is, to effect, the only actor in the piece. Like, we have the little interviews, but it all rests squarely on her shoulders. And there's a inherent watchability to Alanah in a room, even with all of our friends, and we'd be playing games or doing whatever. I find myself very drawn to whatever Alanah is doing, or looking at her face, trying to figure out what she's thinking. I find her to be very magnetic and interesting. And when I was given an open field to decide who I wanted to play my lead, she was the first person that came to mind. I had heard little comments here and there that she was interested in doing more acting. And I really thought that we would work well together. Her process felt like my process. The way we talked about art was similar. The way she is always there to boost the people she believes in, how collaborative and helpful she was. And frankly, on day one, I was blown away by her talent. I would give her very esoteric direction sometimes about things like, you need to keep talking, because if you stop talking, you'll scream and you'll never stop. There's just little things like that I tried to drop in there. And similarly, when we were talking about how to discover the lights in the sky, I would just say, like, just stop, just pause, do nothing. And she was always game to take direction. And then she would make it her own and make it even better. She was a dream. And I had an instinct that she would be, but I did not know how big and how correct my choice was.
Let's talk about directing. Well, first of all, kudos to being the only short to go actually into space. But kind of my concern when I said, when we were watching everything leading up to the premiere and leading up to actually being able to watch it, I'm like, everything's going to happen on Earth. Nothing's going to happen in space, but it actually happened in space. And so what are the challenges that are presented to you trying to, it's one thing to be on the, in the desert and everything like that, but then to actually go into a ship, go into space. What were the challenges that were presented to you in, putting that out there, creating that for us to watch?
I mean, being in space is a huge challenge. You normally need millions of dollars to do that. You need to fight the natural gravity exists on the planet. And most of the solutions that we have were either too expensive, or I just didn't believe in them. Like, there was a long talk about putting Alanah on wires and doing her sort of like Mission Impossible style. And I was like, no, the wire makes the gravity even more present, because you will see the points of pulling. And you need the opposite. And it was something I spent weeks trying to crack, walking around, talking to more experienced directors than myself, being like, how would you do this? How would you do zero gravity for no money? Not to mention that I needed to somehow make the whole thing feel alien. On top of that, we're not in a spaceship. We're not in Apollo 13 or whatever. So what I ended up doing was, through a series of stop and starts and tests, we ended up with something called a Trinity head, which is from Airy Rentals, where it is a gyroscopic crane head that we ended up putting on a Steadicam operator, so that it could move and float and twist and spin, but we could also control all of those motions, not through remote, but through actual mechanical movement. And so it didn't have like a planned feel to it. It kind of had like a, because I also wanted to think about how space and radiation in space would affect a VHS tape, how that would move with everything else in the space when it would bounce off walls. I really couldn't have it feeling too much like a drone. Anyway, the answer to your question is, it's a ton of work. It's a ton of preparation. It's a ton of research. And it was so exciting to solve that problem. It was probably the thing I was looking forward to the most, to solve that Haley in the spaceship problem.
It's a terrific short. I really liked it. I was just like the discovery, the mystery. I don't want to say it's like the perfect, where the craft is the perfect mousetrap, or where curiosity killed the cat. But we're going through all of these different, the thrill of discovery, the panic of being caught, the science behind it as well, and just the ending is horrifying. And it just, we got into this horrifying thing that we can't talk about, and I really want to talk about it because because you can see that Haley wants out, but it won't let her. I think that's probably the most horrifying thing of all, is that she wants out, but she's now stuck, and she's going to be stuck for light years of time. And that ending thought is very horrifying.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
it's that Twilight Zone moment. Now all there is time.
There you go. Excellent.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end off. First, again, congratulations again on
Thank you.
your directorial debut. Obviously, we've been big fans of yours for a long time, and of your screenwriters. We remember seeing Absentia here in Toronto way back when. So, but congratulations to you. And
Thank you.
we really do hope that we see more more of you behind the camera, but we love you in front of the camera as well.
Well, I think you'll get both. So
That's great.
you're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Andrew.